The maximum of x and y is a function that selects the largest of two quantities. Simple enough. When x and y are real functions, regular 1D graphs or surfaces or implicit volumes, it picks the largest of the two at any point, which is a very useful way of combining the two functions. But even more useful would be if instead of returning either x or y, somehow we could smooth out the maximum function such that it gently transitions from x to y and back as one quantity takes over the other. But how would we even create such a smooth maximum function, or Smax, starting from the regular maximum function in a way that's still simple and efficient? In this video, I want to show you a few ways of doing exactly that. And then we will use it in practice with an awesome mathematical painting. So, let's go! Let's begin our journey with a regular definition of the max function based on conditional statements. And then let's rewrite it like this. This doesn't have any if cases. Instead, it has arithmetics, but it's mathematically equivalent. So let's give it a quick try and see what happens. If we input x equals 7 and y equals 3, and we carry on the calculations, we get 7, as expected. But the max function should obviously be insensitive to the ordering of the inputs. And indeed, if we swap them, things look almost identical, except that where we had absolute value of 4, we now have the absolute value of -4 instead. But because the absolute value erases the sign, the answer is still 7, like we want. So the formula does check out. I think it's clear that the absolute value is doing the heavy lifting here. So let's look at the formula a bit closer and learn how it works. If we split the expression in two parts and we mark the x and the y numbers in the real line, we can interpret the x plus y over 2 part as the center or middle point of the two inputs. The second part is the distance between x and y, but it's divided by 2, so it's really the distance between the center and the edge of the segment. So, the formula is computing the middle of x and y and then moving to the right by half the distance between them to there meet the number that is the largest of the two. I think this is a useful interpretation, and it suggests that computing the minimum of the two numbers is just as easy. Instead of moving to the right from the center point, we can just move to the left by changing the plus sign to a minus sign. Okay, so let's recall that we started with the definition of the max function based on conditional statements, and we replaced it with something more arithmetical, if that's a word. Now, you might think that all we have done here is just hide the conditional under a rug, that is, under the definition of the absolute value. And yes, that's correct, but also it's not, because now we are in a much better position to take our next step in the journey towards the smooth maximum, which is to go full algebraic and replace the absolute value by the square root of a square, so that the max function now looks like this. This is still equivalent, because whether a number is negative or positive, squaring it makes it positive, and then square rooting it recovers the original magnitude. Since the square root is a function and can only return one value, and by convention that's the positive one, we don't need any plus minuses in front of it. Now, the reason I'm showing you this ridiculous way of expressing the max of x and y is that compared to the previous forms, we now have a lot of places where we can tweak with the purpose of creating the smooth version we are after. Case in point, here's a function x of t and a function y of t. And this is the maximum computed with the formula above. But now pay attention to this. If we add a little bias to the square root, we can finally create a soft or smooth version of the max function, which behaves a bit like a snow layer or an envelope around the exact maximum. The larger the bias, the more snow we can accumulate. And this is exactly what we were going for. So this can be our first version of a smooth maximum. And it looks great. Indeed, looking at the derivative, we can see that this new smooth maximum gently blends the derivatives of x and y with no abrupt changes. So, if x and y are smooth, so will be our new function. Perfect. So, let's go ahead and use this useful property in practice. Imagine that x is some procedural surface or energy function that we don't have full control over. And let's suppose that we want to perform some local repairs or edits to it. For instance, say we want the function to climb higher in this area. Well, then we can bring a paraboloid, for example, as our edit function y. Combine it with x with the regular max function, place it where we need it, and adjust its width and the height until we are happy with the edit. The problem is, of course, that we have created a discontinuity where x and y meet. But now is when we can use the smooth maximum instead and fix that by melting y into x, and by choosing how much we want the two functions to blend together through the parameter lambda. This way, we have fused both surfaces into a single one that is nice and differentiable. And with that, we have finished repairing our original function. Alright, so let's regroup again and go over what we did so far. First, we expressed the maximum function as a center point plus a distance. And then we replaced the absolute value by an equivalent square root of a square. We did all this maneuvering so we could add a bias to the square root and create our first smooth maximum. But we left a lot of territory unexplored. For example, we could expand x minus y squared and modulate the 2xy bilinear term to find a completely different smooth maximum function with its own interesting properties to explore. Also remember that we got to these smooth maximum definitions by, at this step, expressing the absolute value as the square root of a square. But we could have as well expressed it as the hyperbolic arc cosine of the hyperbolic cosine. Then, by expanding that into exponentials, we get yet another family of tweakable smooth maximum functions. And one more exploration that we can do is to replace the absolute value again, but with a piecewise version, where a little polynomial replaces the discontinuity at the origin. This again spans a whole family of smooth maximums, which is actually the one I use the most in computer graphics because they have local support and so are easier to control. We could open a lot more evolutionary lines here, but look, the point is that there are actually dozens of ways to create smooth maximum functions, which we won't cover here today. But what's probably worth mentioning is that many of these smooth maximums, as we have seen, are based on replacing the regular absolute value in the middle point plus distance formula by some sort of smooth absolute value function. Now, the absolute value can be used to express any conditional mathematical function, like sine or ReLU, not only the maximum and the minimum. And so, if you pick any of the smooth absolute value functions available, let's pick for example the first one that we created, then you can trivially convert the sine function into a smooth sine, the ReLU into a smooth ReLU, or the saturate into a smooth saturate, and so on. You get the idea. But now, let's go back to our smooth maximum function and wrap up the video with one example of the very useful things it can do for us. Alright, I'm going to use the smooth maximum to help me with the sculpting of a rock. So, let's start with an arbitrary plane in 3D space. All the points on one side of the plane are at a positive distance from it, and all the points on the other side are at a negative distance. Now, let me bring up a cube as well, so we have something to see on either side of the plane. Next, I'm going to chop off all points that are in the positive half space. Perfect. If I bring a second plane, now every point in space has one distance to the plane number 1 and a second distance to the plane number 2. If I take the maximum of those two distances, and again discard anything that gives a positive distance, I will get a smaller block, that is, the intersection of the two half spaces. I can keep adding planes and chiseling out more and more half spaces, until I have a convex polyhedron that would resemble a rock if it wasn't for those razor-sharp edges, I would say. So, now it's when we finally summon our superhero, the smooth maximum. Since the edges of this rock come from computing the maximum of plane distances, if we replace it with a smooth maximum, then all the sharp edges get smoother and look more natural. Now, let me push the visuals a little bit here by adding some randomized waves to the surface as well as some coloring formulas. Now, don't worry, the math I used to get this done is not important for our discussion, and I have covered some of it in past videos and will certainly cover it again in the future. The point I want to make right now, though, is that when the rock looks more realistic, the effect of the smooth maximum is even more dramatic. If I turn it off, the discontinuities on the surface become visible seams and ruin the illusion of a realistic rock. When I switch it on again, things look more natural. So, using the smooth maximum and all the other smooth branchy functions gives me the superpower to sculpt organic shapes, which is one of my favorite things to do with mathematics. And I hope that they too become a powerful tool that you can carry around for your next mathematical adventure.